Tony and Mike Beets, stars of the popular TV show Gold Rush, are known for their larger-than-life personalities and their daring adventures in the gold mining world. Fans of the show followed their journey through tough terrain, mining challenges, and the drama that came with trying to strike it rich in the unforgiving wilderness. Their lives seemed like an exciting, adventurous story unfolding on screen, an example of the American dream. They built their name, their business, and their reputation based on hard work, grit, and a willingness to take risks. But everything changed when the shocking news broke. Tony and Mike Beets were sentenced to life imprisonment. This twist, as unexpected as it was devastating, took everyone by surprise. The Beets family, which had become almost synonymous with gold mining on TV, was suddenly at the center of a real-life scandal. What has gone wrong, and how did these two men, who were once admired for their perseverance, end up in this dire situation? For many, it was difficult to believe. Fans who had cheered for them on TV now found themselves questioning everything they thought they knew about the Beets family. The dramatic turn of events left a trail of confusion, disbelief, and, above all, curiosity. The announcement came after an intense legal battle. The investigation revealed a series of events that painted a much darker picture than anyone had expected. Details about the case were carefully kept under wraps, adding to the mystery surrounding the entire situation. Stay with us as we delve into the journey of Tony and Mike. What exactly they did to land them in this position, if they were involved in illegal activities, or if there was a more complex web of events that led to their downfall. Tony Beets was born in 1959 in the small village of Wijdenis, located in the Netherlands. In 1980, at the age of 21, he made a bold move to Canada, carrying little more than hope and a few dollars in his pocket. He initially settled in Alberta, where he took up work on a dairy farm to make ends meet. Life was tough, but Tony was no stranger to hard work. However, it didn't take long for him to realize that farming, while honest labor, offered limited financial prospects. Drawn by stories of fortune and driven by his relentless work ethic, he shifted his focus to mining. The unforgiving climate and remote wilderness of the Klondike region in the Yukon Territory would have discouraged many. But not Tony. He saw not obstacles, but opportunities. In the Yukon, Tony Beets didn't just mine for gold, he carved out a legacy. The rough terrain and extreme weather became the backdrop for his rise in the gold mining world. Through perseverance and grit, he not only struck gold but also discovered his true passion. Mining wasn't just a job, it became his way of life, shaping him into one of the most successful and recognizable figures in the industry. Tony Beets didn't just find success in the Yukon, he built a gold mining empire from the ground up. Starting with almost nothing, Tony turned his modest beginnings into a family-run mining dynasty that became one of the most recognized operations in the Klondike. His wife, Minnie Beets, played a crucial role from the beginning, managing the books, handling finances, and keeping the business side of things in order while Tony focused on operations in the field. As the business grew, the Beets children, Kelvin, Monica, and Mike, followed in their father's footsteps. Rather than pursuing careers elsewhere, they joined the family venture, mastering the operation of massive, multi-million-dollar heavy machinery. Under Tony's guidance, they learned the trade the hard way, by doing it themselves, often in extreme weather and harsh conditions. Tony quickly gained a reputation not only for his deep mining knowledge and relentless work ethic, but also for his no-nonsense attitude and larger-than-life personality. His unconventional methods, fiery temper, and famously colorful language set him apart from other miners. He became known for barking orders and pushing his crew family included to their limits, often punctuated by his now iconic catchphrase, "Shut the up and keep mining." This raw authenticity struck a chord with viewers of the hit reality show, Gold Rush, where Tony became a fan favorite. People admired his refusal to sugarcoat reality and his sheer determination to succeed against the odds. When Tony Beets joined Gold Rush in Season 2, he wasn't a rookie. He already had decades of mining experience under his belt. Having worked in the industry for years, Tony brought a level of expertise that many of the other miners lacked. While many of his peers struggled to find gold in the harsh conditions of the Klondike, Tony's operation consistently outperformed the competition, delivering impressive gold totals year after year. His experience and strategic approach to mining allowed him to thrive where others faltered. By season 5, Tony took a bold leap that would solidify his place as one of the most ambitious miners in the Klondike. He purchased the historic dredge at Eureka Creek for a whopping $1 million. It was a massive gamble, one that many critics thought would end in disaster. But Tony saw potential where others saw risk. He poured resources into restoring the legendary dredge, a massive, outdated piece of mining equipment. Against all odds, Tony made it profitable, proving his critics wrong and turning the dredge into a successful operation that helped boost his empire. As the gold rush continued to grow, producers quickly realized that Tony Beets and his family were an essential part of the show's appeal. The drama within the Beets family, combined with Tony's larger-than-life personality, became a central element of the show's success. The Beets family, often referred to as the Vikings of the Klondike, brought a unique energy to the show, and their storylines became some of the most compelling for viewers. It wasn't just about gold, it was about the Beets family's resilience, dynamic relationships, and their unrelenting pursuit of success. Beyond gold, Tony found something even more valuable in the Yukon wilderness, a platform to showcase his authenticity and determination. His journey proved that, with hard work, calculated risk-taking, and a bit of grit, it was possible to turn even the most unlikely ventures into thriving businesses. Success in the Klondike wasn't guaranteed, but for Tony Beets, it was the reward for decades of perseverance and relentless pursuit of his goals. Over the years, the Beets family built a mining empire that grew steadily in front of television audiences. As viewers tuned in, they witnessed the family's expanding dominance in the gold mining industry, staking more claims and scaling up operations. At the center of this growth was Tony Beets, a seasoned miner whose rugged leadership style earned him a reputation in both the field and on screen. Working closely beside him was his son, Mike Beets. From a young age, Mike was immersed in the world of mining, gradually becoming his father's trusted right-hand man. He learned every facet of the business, from operating heavy machinery to managing crew logistics, demonstrating a strong work ethic and natural leadership. It seemed inevitable that Mike would one day inherit the family enterprise, Paradise Hill, continuing the legacy Tony had built. However, their father-son relationship wasn't without tension. Their bond, while strong, was often tested by the pressures of the mining business. Heated arguments and shouting matches were not uncommon, particularly during difficult mining seasons. Despite these clashes, there was mutual respect between the two, and Tony gradually entrusted Mike with greater responsibilities, grooming him to eventually take the reins of the Beets mining operation. But behind the scenes, the story took a darker turn. In 2019, federal investigators began scrutinizing the Beets family business after environmental complaints surfaced, specifically violations involving improper wastewater disposal. What began as standard inspections soon evolved into a broader investigation. Authorities reportedly uncovered discrepancies in the company's records, including suspicious inconsistencies in how gold production was reported. Allegations emerged suggesting that the family's transition of power from Tony to Mike was accompanied by more than just the transfer of mining knowledge. Investigators claimed that illegal practices may have been embedded within the business over decades, intertwining criminal activities with otherwise legitimate mining operations. As the investigation unfolded, it became clear that the family's rise to power in the mining industry may have been accompanied by illicit activities that had become deeply intertwined with the day-to-day operations of the business over decades. That aside, legal and criminal complexities surrounding the Beets empire added a dark layer to the story, overshadowing what had initially appeared to be a straightforward tale of familial success in the mining industry. According to court documents, the investigation into the Beets family's mining business escalated significantly when former employees came forward with explosive allegations involving illegal mining practices and large-scale tax evasion. One of the key testimonies came from John Reeves, a mining inspector, who revealed that environmental samples taken from the tailings ponds on the Beets claims contained hazardous chemicals, including mercury and cyanide. These substances are strictly banned in modern gold mining due to the severe environmental and health risks they pose, such as groundwater contamination and long-term damage to local ecosystems. Reeves's testimony suggested these chemicals were deliberately used to boost gold recovery rates, especially during early morning hours when television crews were absent and off-site. Prosecutors allege that these unauthorized practices were intentionally concealed to maintain a clean public image while maximizing profits. The most damning evidence came from Brian Anderson, a former mechanic who had worked with the Beets family for 8 seasons. Anderson cooperated with investigators and provided hidden camera footage showing Tony and Mike Beets in discussions with buyers from Venezuela about gold transactions that were never reported to tax authorities. This footage, according to prosecutors, revealed the existence of a well-organized money laundering operation. The scheme involved selling gold off the books to avoid taxation and international scrutiny. Financial experts brought in by the prosecution testified that more than $15 million in gold sales went unreported between 2012 and 2020, precisely during the peak of the Beets family's fame on the Discovery Channel's Gold Rush. Further investigation uncovered a second set of financial records hidden within Tony Beets' office. These documents reportedly showed the actual gold recovery numbers, which were significantly higher than what was depicted on the television show or declared to tax authorities. Adding to the credibility of these claims, former crew member Peter Lewis testified that much of what viewers saw on Gold Rush was a heavily edited version of a much larger, more secretive operation. Lewis recalled that Tony frequently told his team, "What happens after the cameras leave stays between us," indicating a deliberate effort to hide certain activities from both the film crew and regulatory agencies. In a high-profile courtroom battle, the Beets family's legal team, led by renowned defense attorney Samantha Wright, mounted a fierce defense against the serious allegations of environmental crimes, tax evasion, and unlicensed gold sales. Wright dismissed the prosecution's witnesses as disgruntled former employees with personal vendettas, suggesting that their testimonies were motivated more by resentment than truth. Wright passionately defended Tony Beets' reputation, portraying him as a hard-driving but ultimately legitimate businessman who had built a mining empire through decades of relentless work, not criminal behavior. "This is a man who put his entire life into building a business," Wright told the jury. She emphasized that the Beets family had lived under the watchful eye of the public for over a decade, becoming household names through their appearances on the popular television series Gold Rush. "These are television stars, not criminal masterminds," Wright said. "Why would anyone conduct illegal operations while national cameras are rolling?" However, prosecutors painted a starkly different picture. They argued that the Beets fame was not a deterrent, but a strategic asset, an ideal smokescreen. By showcasing a controlled, sanitized version of their operations on television, the family allegedly diverted attention away from a much larger and secretive off-camera mining enterprise. Prosecutors contended that while audiences saw staged mining for entertainment, the real business was generating millions in unreported income and causing irreversible environmental harm. After 6 weeks of intense testimony and over a dozen witnesses, the jury took just 3 days to reach a unanimous verdict: guilty on all counts. The charges included conspiracy to commit tax fraud, environmental violations, and operating an unlicensed gold trading network. During sentencing, Judge Rebecca Holloway made it clear she would not go easy on the defendants. She described their crimes as a gross betrayal of public trust and a direct threat to the Yukon's fragile ecosystem. She cited expert testimony indicating that the use of illegal chemicals such as mercury and cyanide had already led to long-term groundwater contamination that could persist for generations. When given the chance to address the court, Tony Beets remained defiant. "I built everything from nothing," he declared. "You can take my freedom, but you can't take what I created." His son, Mike Beets, appeared more emotional and subdued. He told the court that he had merely followed his father's orders, a defense that Judge Holloway dismissed as convenient, but ultimately not exculpatory. The final verdict shocked even seasoned legal observers: life imprisonment for both Tony and Mike Beets. Legal analysts noted that such a sentence is exceptionally rare for financial crimes, but prosecutors successfully argued that the scope of the environmental destruction warranted the harshest possible penalty. Following the dramatic guilty verdict and life sentences handed down to Tony and Mike Beets, Judge Rebecca Holloway delivered a scathing final statement. "The pursuit of gold," she said, "is not worth poisoning the land and water for centuries to come." Her words echoed throughout the courtroom and beyond, capturing the gravity of the environmental and legal consequences of the case. News of the sentencing sent shockwaves through both the mining industry and the entertainment world. The Beets family had become household names through their long-standing presence on the Discovery Channel's Gold Rush, a show that portrayed the challenges and triumphs of placer gold mining in the Yukon. With the Beets' downfall, the credibility of the show and the industry's public image came under intense scrutiny. In response, the Discovery Channel quickly issued a formal statement to distance itself from the controversy. "We are shocked and deeply disappointed by these revelations. At no time was Discovery aware of any illegal activities at the mining operations featured on Gold Rush. We take these allegations seriously and are re-evaluating our oversight protocols moving forward." The show's production company, Raw Television, also responded, announcing immediate and significant changes to the series. All existing episodes featuring the Beets family would be pulled from streaming platforms, and upcoming episodes would directly address the criminal case. The future of Gold Rush, while not canceled, would continue under stricter production standards and with a renewed focus on transparency. The mining show's co-stars also reacted to the news with disbelief. Parker Schnabel, who had a competitive and at times combative relationship with Tony Beets on screen, said in a statement, "Tony was always intense and uncompromising, but I never suspected anything illegal. This changes how I'll view everything that happened during those seasons." Rick Ness, another longtime miner and cast member, was visibly shaken when approached by reporters. "I'm speechless. Never saw this coming." Despite the devastating verdict, the Beets legal team moved quickly to file appeals, citing what they described as numerous procedural errors during the trial, including the admissibility of covert recordings and the handling of expert testimony. However, legal analysts noted that the breadth and weight of the evidence make a successful appeal unlikely. As one expert put it, overturning such a comprehensive conviction is a legal uphill battle. In the meantime, both Tony and Mike Beets were transferred to separate maximum security correctional facilities where they await the outcomes of their appeals. The case continues to reverberate across industries, serving as a cautionary tale about the high costs of environmental crime and the potential pitfalls of mixing fame with business. While Tony and Mike Beets were convicted and sentenced to life, in prison for a series of environmental and financial crimes tied to their gold mining operation, not all family members were implicated. Minnie Beets, Tony's wife and longtime business partner, was not charged in the case and has continued to stand firmly by her husband's side. In a rare and emotional public statement made outside the courthouse, Minnie defended Tony's character and legacy. "We've been together for 40 years. I know this man. He built everything we have through hard work, not through crime. The truth will come out." Their children, Kevin and Monica Beets, both of whom had played roles in the family's mining business and appeared regularly on Gold Rush, remained largely silent throughout the proceedings. In comparison, neither faced charges. Both were seen, attending court sessions during the trial. Prosecutors later confirmed that Kevin and Monica cooperated with investigators in exchange for immunity, though the extent of their involvement or knowledge of the illegal activities was not made public. Meanwhile, the consequences of the Beets family's downfall are rippling outward. The Paradise Hill mining operation, once valued at millions and considered a landmark on the Gold Rush series, has been seized by the Canadian government. Environmental remediation efforts are already underway, and early assessment reports estimate the cleanup will cost taxpayers over $20 million and could take several decades to complete. One of the most symbolic losses in the wake of the scandal was the dismantling of Tony Beets's restored dredge, a massive piece of mining equipment that had once served as a centerpiece of the show. Tests revealed mercury contamination throughout its structure, classifying it as hazardous material. A machine once viewed as a monument to Klondike mining history has now been condemned as toxic waste. In Dawson City, reactions from the local community have been mixed. Some residents acknowledge that the Beets family brought international attention and tourism to the region thanks to their visibility on television, but others say the signs of reckless behavior had been visible for years. "He always did things his own way," said longtime Klondike miner James Wilson. But nobody thought that meant breaking the law on this level. For the reality television industry, the case marks an unprecedented turning point. While reality TV has seen its share of controversies, from behind-the-scenes manipulation to off-screen scandals, never before have central figures in a hit series faced criminal charges of this magnitude. Media analysts say networks will be forced to implement stricter oversight and vetting processes for reality shows moving forward. Discovery Channel and Raw Television, the production company behind Gold Rush, have already announced major changes to how the show is produced and aired. As Tony and Mike Beets begin life behind bars, many questions remain unanswered. What will happen to the family's remaining mining claims and equipment? Will the rest of the family return to mining, or has the Beets legacy come to an end? And, perhaps most importantly, how did one of the most recognizable families in gold mining go from television stardom to criminal convictions? While the criminal trial of Tony and Mike Beets has concluded, the legal saga is far from over. Prosecutors have confirmed that a separate civil proceeding is underway to determine the fate of the Beets family's remaining assets. This phase will focus on the financial and environmental repercussions of the family's years-long mining operation. Legal experts suggest that a substantial portion of the Beets holdings, including mining equipment, real estate, and residual profits from their television appearances, will likely be seized and liquidated. The proceeds are expected to help cover the estimated $20 million in environmental remediation costs for the Paradise Hill site and other affected areas. Cleanup efforts may span decades, especially given the presence of toxic substances like mercury and cyanide found in the soil and water. For the Discovery Channel, the criminal convictions represent a severe and unprecedented blow to one of its most successful and recognizable franchises. Gold Rush, which has aired since 2010, consistently ranked as one of the network's top-performing reality series, with the Beets family playing a pivotal role in its appeal. Tony Beets's larger-than-life persona, no-nonsense attitude, and unconventional mining style were major draws for audiences. In the wake of the scandal, Discovery has announced its intention to continue Gold Rush, shifting focus to the remaining mining crews, including Parker Schnabel and Rick Ness. However, industry insiders have expressed skepticism about the show's future viability without the Beets family, who brought drama, tension, and a multi-generational narrative to the series. The Beets were polarizing, but they were also ratings gold. One television analyst noted, "Without them, Gold Rush will need to reinvent itself or risk losing its core audience." The production company behind the show, Raw Television, has committed to increased transparency and compliance moving forward. Future episodes will reportedly include behind-the-scenes disclosures and address the fallout from the Beets case, both on-screen and in real life. As the civil trial approaches and environmental crews begin long-term cleanup at Paradise Hill, the future of the Beets legacy and the franchise that helped make them famous remains uncertain. As the courtroom emptied and the weight of the verdict settled in, familiar faces from the Gold Rush were seen emerging with heavy hearts. Among them was Chris Dumit, the fan-favorite carpenter-turned-gold room operator, who had worked with multiple mining teams over the years and earned respect across the board for his quiet dedication and craftsmanship. Approached by reporters outside the courthouse, Dumit gave voice to the somber mood shared by many in the Gold Rush community. "This is a sad day for everyone involved. Nobody wins here. The land has been damaged, lives have been destroyed, and a shadow has been cast over an industry filled with hardworking and honest people who do things the right way." Inside the courtroom, the final moments of the Beets trial played out with a surreal mix of drama and resignation. As correctional officers approached Tony and Mike Beets to take them into custody, the atmosphere was tense and quiet. Cameras clicked rapidly, capturing what felt like the closing chapter of a dynasty. Then, just before being let out, the elder Beets, once the larger-than-life Viking of the Klondike, broke his silence. Turning to face the packed courtroom, which included reporters, former crew members, and longtime viewers, he offered a brief and somber farewell. "The Viking has fallen." With those words, he was escorted through the doors that would separate him from the empire he had spent decades building, his dredges, his claim, and the legacy he once proudly showcased to millions. For Gold Rush fans, the moment marked a turning point. What were once scenes of rugged perseverance and triumph, family meals at camp, roaring machinery, golden cleanouts, have now taken on a more complex and unsettling tone. Episodes that once celebrated success now feel shadowed by deception, environmental harm, and betrayal. The conviction forces a reckoning not only for the Beets family, but for a loyal viewership now left to question just how much of what they saw on screen reflected reality and what was carefully concealed behind the camera. Environmental groups have started using clips from Gold Rush, along with evidence from the Beets trial, to teach people why strong mining laws are important. These materials are meant to show the damage that can happen when rules are ignored. The case has also raised tough questions about reality TV. Some people are asking if TV producers should be more responsible for making sure what they film and profit from is being done legally and ethically. Because of this, several TV executives are now calling for new rules across the industry. They want clear steps to check that companies shown on TV are following the law, especially in industries like mining. Kelvin and Monica Beets, Tony's other children, often appeared on Gold Rush working with the family, but they were not charged in the case, as there was no proof they were involved in any illegal decisions. In a joint statement, they said they were shocked by how serious the violations were. They also asked for privacy while they figure out what to do next in their personal and professional lives. As the Yukon mining season begins without two of its most well-known figures, the effects of the Beets conviction are still being felt. Local officials have announced that there will be more inspections for all mining operations in the area moving forward. Discovery Channel has also responded by creating stricter rules for any mining shown on its programs. These include regular environmental checks. A new documentary is also being planned to explore how the illegal activities went unnoticed for so long, even as they were being filmed. Industry experts say this case has changed reality TV forever. The idea that fame could protect someone from consequences has now been proven wrong. Tony Beets, who once called himself the King of the Klondike, is now facing life in prison, far from his gold-rich claims and television spotlight. The Marlborough empire he spent years building is gone, washed away by the very justice he thought he could outrun.